and well rested after the weekend. There's a lot to talk about this morning, some big issues to deal with. And of course, the topic of last week into this week is that those two damaging voice notes from executive members of the opposition People's National Party. We broke the story last Monday evening, and for whatever reasons best known to the PNP and its leader Mark Golding, they chose to ignore, to hope that it would blow away, but pressure kept on mounting. It was all over social media, and frankly, I think Mr. Golding was forced to say something yesterday at his party's two-day National Executive Council meeting. And it's never good for leadership when you are forced to respond. No? And the response that came from Mr. Golding yesterday was poor. Poor. He fumbled it. He made a hash of it, and may have done more harm to himself and his party with that response yesterday. You know, the issue of leadership, whether in politics, business, or whatever endeavor you may choose to get into, leadership is lonely. Leadership is lonely because, especially in areas of national life, you're going to be confronted with tough decision making where you have to survey the landscape. And in the case of Mr. Golding, he has to take into consideration the strength of his position as leader at this moment and what is looming. He has to try to balance competing interests and views. And that's not unique to Mark Golding. That's not unique to any one of us in whether political, commercial, leadership. And it is in moments like those where you have to be anchored in your own belief, in your own sense of mission, in your own values and conviction. Conviction as in doing what is right. Doing what is right. And that makes leadership difficult. So you have to call a man or a woman and say, listen, you screwed up. You screwed up badly. And you screwed up badly in the case of Ethne Miller Simpson and Councillor Mario Mitchell, one of whom is an elected local public official of the party, Mario Mitchell, the councillor for the Belfield division in central Manchester. And in the case of Mrs. Miller Simpson, She ran as a parliamentary candidate for Mr. Golding's party last year, September, in Northwest St. Andrew in the general elections, and she lost to the JLP's Dwayne Smith. She was a parliamentary candidate. So it is that moment where Golding had to call them in, or should have called them in, and say, you screwed up. And I'm going to A, B, C, D, E, whatever he chooses. But those choices that he has to make must be determined by what is right, by his own sense of conviction and belief. You don't be leader of a national political party if you don't come to the job with a mission of what you want to achieve and how you're going to get there. What are the ground rules? What are the principles? And what Golding demonstrated yesterday afternoon was an awful failure of leadership. And frankly, he's been under pressure in the party. He suffered a loss in the elections of last year, an election that the whole party thought they were going to win and win handsomely, and he led them to defeat. And ever since then, and even before, there were always questions about his leadership ability, whether he could take them across the line. He did not. And with each passing day, more and more it is becoming apparent that he simply doesn't have the ability to take them across the line. And those factors may have weighed on him. But it is in moments like those that you have to hold to your conviction and say, listen, to have two of my executive members be caught on tape saying, listen, the extreme partisanship of their thoughts and action must, as the Observer says in its editorial yesterday, eclipse the national interest. That is simply unacceptable. Unacceptable. This is about Jamaica. You cannot, Mr. Golding, countenance any member of your National Executive Council or executive of the party putting the national interest below the partisan interest of the PNP. And I think, they underestimated the public sense of revulsion, of outrage over this. They underestimated that. And that's why it took him a week before he responded. And when he responded, he failed to condemn that. And that is the issue, MunchieB, why people are up in arms. How could they, when half of Jamaica mash up, thousands of people suffer? Huh? And now, not to utter a word of condemnation? Not one word of condemnation, MunchieB? The people them say, you're not ready. You're not up to this. And that's where you let down yourself and your party and country yesterday. For you to attempt to say, oh, they're not party officials. They were not speaking on behalf of the PNP. What nonsense. Mario Mitchell is not only a member of the National Executive Council, but he's also an elected councillor who presides over public resources. On behalf of the people of Belfield in Manchester, I am told he is one of the most influential executive member of the People's National Party's NEC. You know why? He got the most votes in the party's internal elections for a seat on the executive. He got the most votes. So how now you're going to play down that listen? And he's the one who spoke about play ball game by using delaying tactic to frustrate the efforts of the government of the day to deal with national issues. Mario Mitchell, yeah, elected to serve the people of Belfield and Jamaica. Well, I hope the people of Belfield and Manchester know those words of Mario Mitchell disqualify him from any further election in Jamaica. He should be rejected by the people of wherever he offers himself for election. And the same thing for Ethne Miller Simpson. She offered herself to the people of Northwest St. Andrew, and they told her no thank you last year. Well, she must never be on another ticket. Yeah? When she is going to be maintaining a position that, listen, we have to besmirch the character of an outstanding Jamaican, Major General Anthony Anderson, in the interest of the party. That disqualifies her from seeking or being elected, whether at the national or local level, as it is applicable to Mr. Mario Mitchell. Time for the break.